All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode. And you probably read the title. The Flash movie did not get here as fast as we thought. Pun intended. Anywho, before we get started on this episode, guys, make sure to follow my social media. It's already out there. It's Lielers on Instagram and on Twitter. And if you guys do have a TikTok, definitely follow me at Lielers on TikTok. I've been throwing a bunch of comments on some like trendy videos only because like it relates right now. Like for example, I was on my TikTok the other day and I got to see like I guess like a comparison of presidents with their dads, not trying to get all political, but it was a little bit hilarious when I got to see a picture of Lyndon B. Johnson and his dad because Father's Day was yesterday, and I put a comment on there, and it's been getting a ton of likes. So if you happen to see that video that I'm talking about, go like it. I highly doubt you get it. I don't know. TikTok algorithm is so different. But anywho, let's go ahead and dive into this. So I'm starting to notice, like, okay, yeah, we've been talking about movie reviews for quite some time. And I wasn't planning on actually watching this movie. My dumbass thought that this movie was going to come out in July. And then, like, Cosmo had her vaccinations literally Saturday. And my brother was telling me, because my brother was the one that gave me, my brother and my sister-in-law, they were the ones that gave me Cosmo, my Frenchie. And they were telling me, it's like, oh, are you watching The Flash? And I'm like, doesn't it come out in July? And he's like, no, it's out already. And I'm like, well, in that case, I guess I'm going to have to go watch it. And it was funny, yeah, because Transformers, I think it's out already. And then the Disney's Elementals, whatever, that's out already too. And I was just like, no, I got to give DC a chance because I didn't get to watch any DC movies like during the pandemic. I still haven't watched Black Adam. I finally got to see Shazam because it's on Max, not HBO Max, just Max. And it just didn't catch my attention. So I was like, you know what? Let's give Flash a chance. And yeah, we're going to talk about that. And before I get ahead of myself too, I did wanted to like just give you guys like a little preview because I know again we've been doing a lot of movie reviews, but yesterday was also the finale for the anime Demon Slayer for the Swordsmith arc or the Swordsmith Village arc. For those that do not watch anime, it's basically a Japanese anime, and so that finally ended, and I really do have a lot of thoughts about it. So maybe, possibly next episode. But anywho, I've been listening to like my past three episodes that I uploaded back to back with the movie reviews, and I started to notice like a little pattern where I give you the drama first, then we talk about the movie reviews. So I'm just like, all right, let's go ahead and talk about the drama, of course, because this movie was so delayed. Like, I think this movie was supposed to be even coming out like literally before the pandemic started. I want to say 2019. And then pandemic happened. And then the shit that happened with Ezra Miller was just like... So, anywho, for those that do not know, the the main actor that plays Barry, the Flash, Ezra Miller, I don't know why I want to call him Urza. Ezra Miller has been having a problem with the law. For example, he was getting arrested twice in Hawaii for second-degree assault. I literally had to investigate like to see what other allegations were true or false. But it does turn out that the reason why Ezra was acting the way how he was because he was going through an emotional meltdown. Literally, that's something that you guys do not understand. Actors, actresses, just anybody in the entertainment industry can get stressed. That goes with musicians. That goes with movie actors, everything, I'm pretty sure directors, screenwriters, producers, they all go through it. Maybe that explains why some of these movies are just not that good because I think they all ran out of ideas. Honestly, I have ideas of movies of my own, but am I gonna do it? No, because I'm not freaking rich like them to make my own, shit. So, anywho, I guess in a way, like, I feel like the reason why Ezra got at least, I don't know how many chances. I highly doubt this was a second chance, probably like maybe a fifth chance and whatnot. I have a feeling that the reason why they gave him a chance, I want to say, is maybe because of what I mentioned in the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 movie review with James Gunn and his, drama with Disney. And since now that James Gunn is the head of DC, creative or whatever, I feel like, he had to give him a chance in a way. And because of that, I feel like Ezra was like, okay, good. Like, at least somebody understands, because he actually thanked James Gunn and I think another DC creative head, whatever, Peter Safran. He said, and quote, grace. He thanks them for their grace and discernment and care in the context of his life, as well as bringing this moment to fruition. Me, I'm like, anybody craving grapes for some reason? But now that I'm over here thinking about that, I'm starting to wonder if, now that we have this whole shebang and, with Ezra going through what he was going through, I'm starting to wonder, would we have the same outcome with Ray Fisher and heading towards the creation of getting the movie Cyborg? Because that's also a whole different drama as well. I don't think we haven't even talked about it since the pandemic started, literally in 2020, maybe 2021. But I'm like, if this movie came out, it's not doing that well. I think so far in the box office was like at 50 or 55 million, but it's still going like below expectations. I'm like, if this goes well, who knows? Maybe we might get that Cyborg movie, because that Cyborg movie, again, also needed to be out a long time ago. And I think I've said this in the past before, because I want to say, yes, I did. I freaking reviewed the Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut, basically, that 4-hour unnecessary long movie. I reviewed it and I talk about some of the stuff where my thing, and I will say it again because I'm pretty sure you don't want to hear me talk about Justice League. My thing was that when Marvel was going with their, phase where everything was being successful with these movies, I feel like they had time, literally 10 years, to introduce the characters and then eventually make them into a team called the Avengers, and then make this big ass movie that became Endgame. Well, that didn't happen with DC, because literally it was Batman, Superman, I want to say it was Wonder Woman, I can't remember. And then no, actually it was Batman, well, no, not Batman, just Superman, Man of Steel. And then Batman versus Superman, then we get Wonder Woman, and then we get the Wonder Woman movie, and then we get Justice League. And it was like, we were supposed to get the introductory of the characters first, meaning that standalone film. Sorry. So, like, we already had our standalone films with Batman. There's, like, so many of them, and I'll talk about them in a bit. But, like, I feel like, Man of Steel could have had his own, and I think we should have gotten another second Man of Steel. Who knows? And then, after that, Wonder Woman, then Aquaman, then Flash, then Cyborg, and then Justice League. And then it would have been so much better. But no, things happen, and this is why James Gunn decided to step in. So when James Gunn decided to step in, he decided, he basically said that some movies were going to be scrapped, and some movies were still going to have the green light to go. The first mistake already was Shazam. Shazam was not that great. I saw it. I was literally bored. I never gotten bored of a superhero movie. Well, I mean, there were a few, so I'm not going to name them. But I want to say that this movie, as I was watching it from my house, I was literally like, I am bored. I'm probably going to have to go on social media, take care of Cosmo, God knows what, and just have it in the background. And every time I turned, it wasn't that great for me. And people probably wondered the same thing with Flash, because of everything that's happened with Ezra. So it's like, I don't even know if this movie's gonna do so well, but I got to watch it, and I'm telling you right now, it's kind of worth watching it. That's in my personal opinion, but again, there are some flaws in there, which we will get into that in a bit. But before we even, go through that, because there is a little main topic that I wanted to talk about that kind of involves the movie, but not really. Because we were like, literally, if you guys have seen the trailers, basically we are living in the time of the multiverse, because I just reviewed Spider-Man Across the Universe movie, on the last episode. Definitely go check it out. And now, like, we're talking about DC multiverse. So I'm over here like, let me say something about that. So, like, I think for me right now, it's just even weirder. Because, I mean, yeah, we're talking about, like, both, like, comic book competitors are talking about the same thing, the same topic. I guess that's what's trending. But for me, what's even weird is because, like, in my personal life, literally last Wednesday, I got to see Interstellar for the very first time. Literally, I didn't get to watch it in movie theaters when it first got released, in through, like, home video, whatever. I still didn't get a chance to see it until it was finally on Amazon Prime. So I finally began watching it, and I began to wonder about the multiverse. And in my personal opinion, I highly doubt that is the case, but I do believe there is a planet out there, far, far away, who knows, that isn't habitable for humans to survive. And I also do believe that one day, like, literally the universe is just gonna shut down and everything inside it is gonna turn off or just be gone. And that includes black holes. So ton 1 or 618, I'm literally talking to you. And if you guys don't know what the heck I'm talking about, definitely look that up. And when I say that, it's literally spelled TON 618. And do a comparison of how it is through Earth's orbit. It's gonna literally scare you down. If you think whatever's underwater is scary, I mean, that should be scary because it's like literally here. But ton 618 is like so far away, but it exists. So, anywho, let's go ahead and talk about The Flash. As always, I'm going to provide the spoiler-free version, and then after that, we're going to talk about the spoiler version. So, if you guys are not interested in watching it, definitely listen throughout the whole thing to see what I had to say about the movie. And of course, I always start off with the Rotten Tomatoes score. So, as of right now, the Rotten Tomatoes score for The Flash is at 68%. It's slightly fresh. Slightly. And it has an audience score of 86%. And I kind of understand why. So let me go ahead and tell you the spoiler-free version of it. For those that do not know, The Flash is the continuation of the events after Justice League. So yes, you do need to watch that along with maybe Man of Steel, the one with my boy Henry Cavill. And if you even have even more free time, definitely go watch the old Batman movies, plural, specifically the 1989 movie and my personal favorite, Batman Returns, which happens to be like, that's like my childhood movie, literally. And if I could, I think I remember I did like a test audio one day before I even started the podcast about what is considered Christmas movies. I literally said, I argued my case that Batman Returns is a Christmas movie, along with Iron Man 3. So there's that. And yes, if you ask me, Die Hard is also a Christmas movie. So don't get mad at me. But yes, I am a huge fan of Batman Returns, which again, I am just even more happy just to see Michael Keaton come back and reprise his role as Batman. So and don't anybody, again, don't get mad at me because it's in the trailer. You saw the trailer, you know what's to expect. So yes, we get to see Michael Keaton as Batman. And I feel like I think, yeah, because I think he said it, I don't know if it was in an interview or like at a Comic-Con, where he just keeps saying like, I'm Batman, like he loves it. I think that was his favorite thing to portray out of everything. And I've seen him in so many movies. I mean, obviously we have seen him in Spider-Man Homecoming, and I think potentially Morbius. Again, I haven't seen Morbius. See, and that's another one. I haven't seen Morbius, but I heard it wasn't even that good. And then and other movies as well. But the most recent movie that I saw of Michael Keaton was The Founder, the one with the McDonald's one. I swear, I hated the man. And, I kind of hate eating at McDonald's, but, the guy's kind of dead. So, I mean, and I'm talking about the founder, whatever. So, that's a whole different story. But I do also want to say about this movie in Flash, I think we never had a movie. We just been having a bunch of TV series, so it's like something that we needed. Same thing with Aquaman. I don't think Aquaman had a series, like a TV series, but for sure a movie. So like it's good to see these movies finally come to life, and not like it's in the movie version and not a TV series. So like I don't know. There's like these characters that you just don't know much about. You already know, like, Iron Man, Captain America. We already know their origin stories based on animated characters. But they also have made other movies and they probably remade it. Same thing with Batman. Batman is like the most common one. Well, Batman and Superman. They're the most common ones that became movies or, TV shows. And we keep getting like the remakes of it where I'm like, okay, well, what's new? This is what I mean. Like, we love that we got Aquaman. Wonder Woman, we already know mostly about her because of the series. But then Flash, we barely didn't get anything. So I'm kind of glad that we got this. And then for me, in my personal opinion, I feel like this is one of my favorite DC movies post Rona. Because again, compared to Shazam, this is worth watching. One of the reasons why, because it is in my cry radar. I literally wanted to cry in this movie. Like, if I could, I probably had to, holler and God knows what. I think there was like a girl sitting next to me, but not like really next to me, like another seat over. I could hear her crying, and I'm like, I know, I want to cry too, but you're kind of taking the crying away from me because I hear you cry. But anywho, another thing is that this movie is basically the interpretation of Marvel's Endgame, where Tony Stark, or Iron Man, tells Captain America, quote, "You mess with time, it tends to come back, or to mess back." So it's like, I finally understand why, because I feel like in every other movie that has to deal with time travel, I'm not an expert on time travel, but I think this is the one movie where I finally get to see what happens if you mess with time. So it's like, actions have consequences. So that's like another storyline on there. Another thing that I did love to see is that we get to see the background of Barry. And for me, it's like I never read the comics. So I got to see how he became the Flash. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm over here thinking he was like a mutant. But then again, I'm like, this ain't no Marvel. So there's that. So another thing, I was just like, I will say this. This isn't a spoiler-free version, but you will be warned. There are surprise appearances on there, so stay away from social media if you do not want this. You don't want to spoil the movie for yourself. Again, don't go on TikTok because I'm pretty sure somebody's streaming the movie and you're gonna end up watching it halfway. So there's that. But if you are a DC fan, you need to watch this because again, you will want to see those surprise appearances. You're gonna be like, and then also there is one end credit scene, and I think you might like it, but you do have to stay for the entire movie to figure out what's next, and you start to ask yourself a bunch of questions, and I will ask those questions in the spoiler version, so stay tuned. I did see somebody though record that end credit scene, so people like who didn't stay get to watch it. But I saw it on TikTok, so for those that do not have TikTok, can probably just look it up elsewhere or find an article that kind of explains it. So there's that. We do have a lot of returning actors, but one person in particular, and I don't think she has been in like a breakout movie. Her name is Sasha Callie. She's been in the TV show called The Young and the Restless, and she finally enters in this franchise as Kara Zor-El, also known as Supergirl. I did see an article from IGN that supposedly she is already talking with Warner Brothers about potentially making a Supergirl standalone movie. However, I don't know how it will go because we had the TV show, yeah, I know, but I'm just like, I don't know how people will feel over the fact that we might not be able to see Henry Cavill Superman again, because like I feel like there should have been another movie that we had to see from him. And I mean, when I mean by him, like Henry Cavill as Superman. But I think he already has like other responsibilities. I think he wrapped up The Witcher. But I don't know if this is true. I heard that, they're probably gonna build like a series for Warhammer. And if you guys do not know, I blame somebody for even putting the word Warhammer into my knowledge radar. But Warhammer is kinda similar. I'm not gonna say it's similar, kinda similar to Dungeons and Dragons, maybe Magic the Gathering, but Magic the Gathering has to do with cards. Warhammer has to do with figures, and if I were to tell you the whole explanation, some of you guys are gonna be like, what? Maybe I'll do that on another episode. If only I had my Warhammer expert to explain that. I'm pretty sure he would have been a perfect example to put him on the podcast, but no. But anywho, I heard that they're making a series for it, and Henry Cavill is like a big Warhammer fan. That's how I also knew that word existed, and I kind of figured out what it is. And Henry Cavill is known to be the hottest geek of all time. That's why I'm like, oh, I love this man. Well, geek, nerd, whatever you want to call him. I love him. Sweet Jesus. There's even a Frenchie that adores him, and it's not even Cosmo. So there's that. But yeah, so I think because he's going to be doing other stuff, he's probably not coming back as Superman. And I even think James Gunn even had that decision too. So I'm kind of hurt about that, but it is what it is. Only time will tell. But anywho, I don't know how it will be with Supergirl. But I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like this one may not be it. Maybe another kind of movie. Heck, I wouldn't even be surprised if they make a second Flash at this point, but we'll see. And then I am also like, once I talk about this movie, I also started to wonder, okay, why do people rated the tomato score at a 68%, and why did the audience score did an 86? I know a bunch of DC fans probably did watch this movie and probably rated it that high, but there were certain parts of this movie where it was just like, we need to talk. So, with the rating itself, I do want to lean towards the audience score, only because there was really a shit ton of heavy CGI, unnecessary CGI, because it made a bunch of stuff look so unrealistic. So be prepared to see, well, I mean, it's not bad CGI, it's just kind of... No, it's not bad. I've seen bad. And when I mean by bad, I'm talking like Sharknado bad. But like this kind of CGI, it was just like, no. And then I want to say there was also, obviously, you guys know there is a lot of fighting in this movie. And one of the things I did kind of notice that during the fighting scene, that one particular one kind of looked like the main thing. There was a song that they added into the movie during the fighting scene, and I'm just like, I don't know if this is like part of James Gunn having a say, because I noticed this in Guardians of the Galaxy where, those fight scenes do get, like, they do go well, but because DC kind of gave you that image of seriousness, because I mean, obviously we had Christopher Nolan do the Batman movies, and then we had Zack Snyder doing the Justice League, and then we had maybe Suicide Squad with the David Ayer, but that's a whole different thing. It's like we were used to seeing DC as like a dark imagery, and I noticed Aquaman kind of had it too, but when it comes to these fighting scenes, not once I remember them using like a popular song, just a regular common song that we listen to. And I feel like if they were to just do like a regular song, or like if the movie Flash had a specific theme, and what I mean by the specific theme, like, Batman has his theme, maybe Superman has it, Aquaman, who knows, but every movie has a specific theme, like even Avengers have their theme. If the Flash had a theme, insert it while there's that fighting scene, then maybe, yeah, this could have been a little bit more to the at least lower 90% for the audience score, and maybe 70, like literally straight up just 70% at the Rotten Tomato score. I feel like that the song was very, very unnecessary because during the scene, it didn't give me happy vibes. I will say that, and I'm not saying that it is happy or it is sad, it is dark. I just didn't think there was there shouldn't be a happy song playing during a fight scene. So that's just my personal opinion. But other than that, I probably have more thoughts on the spoiler version than I do on the spoiler free version. So again, since I don't have a freaking sponsor and I only get paid by the amounts of plays that this episode gets, I'm gonna go ahead and start talking about the spoiler version. So if you haven't seen the movie and you want to go see it, stop stop the podcast, go ahead and go watch, and then come back to the spoiler free or to the spoiler version, and then you got to listen to what I gotta say about this movie. Now, if you don't plan on watching it or you already watch it, let's go ahead and continue talking. So, spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. And honestly, I don't even know where to start. But I guess I'll just go ahead and go on in order. In the beginning, I was surprised. Obviously, I don't remember seeing this on the trailer. But I was surprised to see Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot come back in the franchise. Last time I checked, Ben was done playing Batman, and DC didn't want to bring Gal anymore as Wonder Woman. That's the last thing I heard. I think it was because of the whole drama with her hometown and whatnot. So that kind of caught me by surprise, unless they shot those scenes like way before. Because again, this movie was supposed to be it was supposed to be released a long ass time ago. And so just seeing them, I was just like, what does this mean? I'm like, are we gonna get something else? Because because I know for sure for Wonder Woman, after the second one, and I actually did like the second one, but a lot of people were just not fans. And honestly, if you guys love Pedro Pascal, come on, go support my boy and watch the second Wonder Woman. But anywho, ever since that movie just flopped, and again, it came out during the pandemic, I don't think they were going to make another Wonder Woman. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they make her, come back in just certain appearances. I will say this, though, particularly in her scene, in Wonder Woman's scene where she comes back and, she rescues the Falcone guy, whatever, and Batman with her truth lasso. You start getting those little truth serums confessions out. I don't know, it's just cringe for me now. It's like, yeah, it's funny, you're supposed to still add the comedic stuff, but it was unnecessary. But I mean, it is what it is. So that kind of caught me by surprise. And so let me go ahead and move on to my next thought. I also did not know, again, I didn't read the comics, so, or maybe this is a whole different thing that they decided to change, but I did not know Barry was half Hispanic. That's probably but I love that he was, I guess, supposedly half Hispanic. I wanted to hear more Spanish into him. I mean, is Ezra even a Hispanic? I would love to know. And then throughout this whole movie, I think like one of my favorite lessons that they have, besides the whole time traveling thing, is that you should never take anything for granted, no matter what. You can have everything, but once it's all taken away, you realize you took advantage of it. And in this movie, that's exactly what 18-year-old Barry was doing with his family. It's like he didn't know what he had, and then next thing you know, future Barry comes in, and it's like, bro, really? But that's the thing, when something changes or when something happens, and that's the biggest thing that they say over and over again, it defines you. It could be like something traumatic, it could be something good, it will always be a part of you, and it just makes you who you are. So there's that. Another thing that I wanted to point out about this movie was it me, or did anybody else heard the Batman 1989 and Batman Returns theme when Barry and Barry number 2 and were entering Wayne Manor? I was over here like, Danny Elfman? Tim Burton, like, because, well, Tim Burton was, I don't know if he directed the 1981, 89 Batman movie, but basically the movies that Michael Keaton played as Batman, I was hearing it, and it gave me flashbacks, and I'm over here like, I kind of want to go home and watch Batman Returns, and then, as the movie progressed, I'm like, I kind of want to go home and watch Man of Steel again, because, Henry Cavill. But still, I really love that. And then just to top it off, we also got to see the OG Batmobile from the 1981 89, I want to say 81, the 1989 Batman movie. So that was like, well, good flashback. And it's kind of sad though, because like some of these kids just don't understand. Am I already in the older generation? Like, sweet Jesus. Well, I mean, to be fair, when Batman Returns came out, I wasn't even born yet, because I think it came out in 92. Yeah, I wasn't even conceived yet, so I wasn't even being made. That's even, I'm still making myself feel better in some way. But yeah, I still ended up watching it, and I still liked it. So I also, like, I'm over here trying to get over Batman, but there's so much over there that happened in this movie. Like, for example, another comedic part, I don't know if I found it cringy or I found it really, really hilarious, but I was not expecting my boy Batman to be using a tape measure to estimate what kind of level he needed to the explosive power to be. So it's just like, what? I'm like, what? But I mean, that's the thing. If you think about it, like, imagine how, well, I mean, this is what we're seeing. Imagine how it would have been with Batman, now that he's older. Well, we're seeing it. There's no crime to be fought again, because in that timeline, there was no danger in Gotham. Must be nice, but still. So it's like, and then because of the outdated technology, that Bruce Wayne is more old school than, any other Bruce Waynes. Even Christopher Nolan's Bruce Wayne, where Christian Bale played him. But still, like, yeah, because you would expect he will be tech savvy, but no, because there was no need for crime, he stayed in that decade. And obviously you got to see that whenever you saw, like, long hair, long beard, everything. So anywho, I did like that. I wanted to point it out. That was probably one of the hilarious things I got to see. And again, I just literally reviewed Spider-Man, and now I understand the terminology of what a canon event means during the movie. So while I was watching this, I was like, so you're telling me that the canon event for Supergirl and Batman was to die no matter how many times 18-year-old Flash or Barry would change it. That's literally their canon event. And because 18-year-old Barry was trying to go back so many times to change it, that world started to disappear. That is exactly what Miguel O'Hara was telling Miles Morales and freaking Spider-Man Across the Universe. So it's like, what the heck, man? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that literally DC's over there watching the Marvel movies just to take notes to, improve their future movies. Maybe that's why they entered second in the game. Interesting. But that's the world of, I guess, corporate America, because everywhere you go there's always a competitor for something. So anywho, that was pretty funny. I mean, I wish they used the word canon event, but for trademark purposes they weren't able to. But I understood it. I'm pretty sure whoever watched the movie is probably thinking the same thing. I was like, interesting. And then I think remember how I mentioned the surprise appearances? I heard it, and I'm so glad I forgot all about it. But I was shocked to see Nicolas Cage as Superman. Homeboy literally looked like the L'Oreal commercials. I mean, because he's worth it. But I was also not expecting to see George Clooney come back as Bruce Wayne. And that is the reference of Batman and Robin. So I was like, oh my God, what the heck? Yeah, I was even surprised to see George Clooney himself. Homeboy still looks good. Like, he aged like fine wine. Sweet Jesus. But back to Nicolas Cage. Why in the heck was Nicolas Cage in this movie? And I said I was gonna look it up, and I still forgot. But as I look up, that I was still surprised again. Like, I was over here trying to figure out. Well, I don't even know if I'm gonna get ahead of myself. But you know what? Forget it. I'm not gonna be able to look up why was Nicolas Cage in there. But if you guys are listening, go look it up, and then we'll figure the rest out. Back to George Clooney. So when Barry came back to his supposed timeline, whatever, because everything got so altered, I'm over here thinking, I'm like, did Barry went to the wrong universe? Kind of like with Miles Morales, or yeah, that universe literally just like it was just altered so much, like, because again, we had George Clooney as Batman, in that Batman and Robin. And then that whole thing with Barry's dad, because like in the beginning of the movie, Barry reviewed the footage and it didn't show his dad looking up in the camera. And he even said it. He was like, there's no way he's going to be in jail the whole time, this, and that. But then when he came back to his supposed timeline, then all of a sudden his dad looks up and I'm like, huh. And the only reason why, because again, Spider-Man kind of trained me for that. Like, you start like, this is why I love to watch both kinds of movie. That's why I'm like, I don't like to pick sides on anything when it comes to these competitors, whatever. Because I mean, yeah, Marvel kind of does have the upper hand with the content and all of that, but you also got to watch DC for other entertainment purposes. And again, you never know when all of this is gonna literally intertwine and then talk about the same thing. And that is basically what happened with just the word multiverse. So yeah. And I'm so glad I even got to watch the childhood movies, or the old Batman movies, to understand this. And then besides that, I was like, well, besides that, if George Clooney came back as Batman / Bruce Wayne, I will not be surprised if Linda Carter comes back as Wonder Woman, because that's going to be a whole different thing. My dad will probably be head over heels, because if you guys have not seen the second Wonder Woman, there was an end credit where Linda Carter comes back as that Wonder Woman. So it's like, I'm still waiting for that moment to come. So I don't know if that they're going to intertwine it for that. So I would not be surprised, honestly, at that point. And I also think, I don't know, when I was talking about the whole watching the past movies and whatnot, I don't know, I feel like I was lucky enough to watch them without even knowing what it was gonna lead up to, because I feel like this movie did a lot, like it did good, or is gonna do good, I hope, because they did homage to all the past actors that played Batman and Superman, and they basically made it seem like the reason why there were different actors, same thing how they did with Marvel, was the same way how they did it with DC. You have all of these actors playing Superman, Batman, and you're starting to wonder why, like, why is it always changing? But you just kind of didn't want to ask yourself. You always see a different Batman, a different Superman. And then the Flash just decided to combine all of that. Except, why make all those multiverses like kind of look like the freaking Infinity Stones, literally? But I mean, it is what it is. It was just weird though, the way how that whole setup was, the way how Barry will time travel, and the way how it was not designed, but the way how it's structured. It was just a spear that kind of looked like you were like in a fighting pits and back in the days. We're talking BC times or something. And so like, yeah, and then when you keep running forward, you see all that heavily CGI. Everything looks like a freaking mannequin at that point. But it's still like, I don't know, it was really hard to read it. It was really hard to see it, read it, and try to understand it, because there was also, you got to see the purple lightning, which I guess that was 18-year-old Barry, older version of himself. But then you also start to see how 18-year-old Barry kept going back and back so much that you see a lot of red. But at first I assumed that the red was like the world just slowly decomposing. But then the more I kept looking at it, it was more like it was just a Kara's laser eyes coming out and then making everything red. So I'm just like, which one is it? It's like, that's the thing. It's really hard to understand. So I guess that's why I went along with the audience score, because there were some parts that kind of like it left me confused. And that's the thing. You shouldn't be confused unless you didn't watch the movies. Like, if you watch your movies and pay attention to every single little thing, then yeah, sure, you'll understand it. But this one was a little bit hard because of the way how it was just structured. Just that whole time thing, the whole thingy. Like, at least in Marvel, they explain the timelines. And if you guys haven't seen the show What If, you get to see how the Watcher literally shifts to different multiverses, and it's just like a little wall, and each wall is like a different universe, I guess. This one was a spear, or yeah, it was a spear, and each step of the spear was a whole different scene. And I'm just like, huh, it's just weird. Again, if you guys saw the movie, I don't know if you guys understood it, good. Me, I was just like, this could have been a little bit much better. At least the good thing, the good thing was that we got to see Batman explain, or Bruce Wayne, whatever, explaining it, dummy it up in pasta form. Because again, I was like, I'm not gonna understand this movie, and I got to see it in Spanish subtitles. So I was like, should I even read the Spanish subtitles so I can understand it even more? Because I do have hard hearing, but who knows? Anywho, I'm getting ahead of myself of that whole thing. So let me go ahead and move on. Back to the whole surprise appearances. Again, I did mention Ben Affleck and Gal Gadot came back. Now that I think about it even more, I'm getting a little bit upset over the fact that they didn't bring my boy Henry Cavill on these movies. I get it. He said he's done, but do me a favor. Do some of us a favor who freaking love this man. He's, oh my God, so gorgeous. But like, come on, man. I would have loved to see Henry Cavill one more time as Superman. That would have been so much better. But, you know, we can never get what we want. So, let me go ahead and move on to that. But like, that's the thing. Okay, hang on. I did say I was gonna go forward, but hang on. Let me pump the brakes on this one. Because I'm like, again, they did homage for all the previous Batman and Supermans, right? Come on, man. Well, I mean, I guess the people that they did bring homage, they were kind of already deceased. So I'm like, I guess that would make sense on why they did that. Because we didn't get to see Christian Bale Batman. And then also we didn't get to see, what was another one that I wanted to see? What's his name? It's not Val Kilmer, is it? It's the other Batman that came from with Two-Face and the Riddler. I'm actually looking it up as we speak. Batman. Yeah, it was Val Kilmer. We didn't get to see that Batman. Heck, do us a favor. What about Robert Pattinson's Batman? So I'm like, I guess it's fair. I guess. But still, I guess I'm being too greedy as well, wanting something that I probably cannot get. Henry Cavill, one day. Anywho, let me go ahead and move forward on this. And then I want to say, I think a lot of people were also upset about how 18-year-old Barry was acting. But at the end of the day, you do have to understand that I talked about this in the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse movie review. Teenagers are really, really arrogant and that's the thing. They're very arrogant to understand anything through an adult's perspective. You know, they think they have matters into their own hands, this and that. But the thing is that it doesn't matter what generation they are in. I was a teenager. I was also arrogant. I mean, I still am, but that's because I haven't gone through my teenager phase. And that's the thing. And I've seen, you know, teenagers from other generations, like literally Gen Z teenagers. Now we're in a whole different generation, by the way. Like, the teenagers now is not Gen Z. It's a whole different generation. I will say that. Because I've heard Gen Z teenagers speak. This one is a whole different language. I will say that. But yeah, like we all go through it, and I'm pretty sure when if an adult is listening and is like, no, like it's always a different generation. Yeah, I mean, I remember again, I was a teenager. I'm technically the in between of millennials and Gen Zs, and what we went through was the rebellion phase called the emo phase or the scene phase, whatever it is. At that time, alternative punk emo music was trending and nobody could handle it. Now we're dealing with TikTok trends and, social media, this and that. There's always going to be a different one, but at the end of the day, teenagers thinks that they are adults, or they're close to adulthood, that they know what's right and what's wrong. So that's what it is, what's happening with 18-year-old Barry, which is a perfect good example. Same thing with Miles Morales, cuz he's 15, and then he hates it every time they call, and like somebody calls him a kid or a child. I mean, I think everybody does, but teenagers specifically hate it more because again, they don't like to be treated like that, but they are, unfortunately. So it's like, oh my god. But it's a really good interpretation, and again, things happen in a movie. So I was trying so bad to be patient with 18-year-old Barry, but yeah, there's just some things. They just want to go ahead and take action without any instructions. So there's that. I will say this though. I am glad that both Barrys had to learn their lessons of, I guess, letting go of their mom. And this one will, like, because there's two separate sides. So wait, I'll go with 18-year-old Barry because I was just talking about him. 18-year-old Barry didn't want to let his mom die. He knew that his mom died in, you know, actual Barry or adult Barry. I'm gonna call Barry 1 the main Barry, and then Barry number 2 18-year-old Barry. So there's that. But Barry number 2 learned that Barry number 1's mom was the one that died. So it's like he doesn't want to go through that same fate with his mom. But because he changed the timeline so much, there is no point anymore. Now he's gonna wind up killing himself. And I'm so glad that he got to see a glimpse of his future self, the way how he turned out, and even then he was not happy with it. So I'm glad that he was like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and let this go because I don't want to end up like this. I destroyed my own timeline. There's no hope for me. Now I gotta sacrifice myself so, you know, Barry number 1 can go back to his world and then, you know, live his life, because, you know, at the end of the day it was his fault. That was his lesson. And then Barry number 1 knew that if he didn't go back in time to put that can of crushed tomato specifically, then none of that would have happened. I mean, he had to learn one way as well. I mean, yeah, I think he was 25, I think. I don't remember what age he was, but still hasn't learned that lesson because again, he was also arrogant and decided to go back in time and meddle with it. So it's glad that he got to learn, and trust me, I wanted to cry so bad when he was talking to his mom, and you, if you probably were watching it, it's like, how come you don't recognize Barry? Because again, when he went back in time, Barry was still like 10 years old or something. So she doesn't know what Barry will look like when he gets older, and she sees him, but it's like she can't click to that's his son for real, because again, it's in the future. Like, Barry number 1's from the future. So like when he's over there telling his goodbyes to his mom, I'm like, no, please stop. I'm like, no, this is sad. I'm surprised Cosmo's like knocked out of sleep. But anywho, yeah, it was really sad, and you know, yeah, that's the hard thing overall, is just to let go no matter what. You can lose, like, you can break up in a relationship, you get divorced, or you know, you lose a loved one, whatever it is, it's hard to let go. So it was just seeing that, I was just like, please stop. You know, I lost so much. Well, no, I haven't lost anything that big, but anywho, I'm glad that, you know, he got to learn that lesson. But again, look what happened, and that's something I wanted to talk about on that last end credit scene. I don't think, like, again, if well, yeah, y'all seen the movie. on the very, very last end credit, I really don't think that Arthur has gone through his Aquaman phase, because he's over there freaking like drinking still, like he's still drunk. And that's what it was in Aquaman, or even before Aquaman, whenever it was the Justice League, when Bruce Wayne's over there trying to recruit Aquaman, or Arthur Curry. I feel like that is convincing me even more that he meddled with the wrong time. And now I don't know if he's trying to fix it. And if he's trying to fix, oh my God, I just realized something even more. And I usually have notes. But this is not on my notes. So now I gotta talk. Oh my God. What if the Flash is the beginning of the reset of the DC universe? Therefore, they're going to end up resetting not only Flash's story, but also maybe Batman, Aquaman, maybe Cyborg, and Wonder Woman. But because it is in a different timeline, they're going to change the actress for Wonder Woman, and they're going to keep Jason Momoa as this one. Who knows if they're going to do that for Cyborg? Who knows what they're going to do for Batman? And then eventually recreate the new version of the Justice League and make it better. I hope I didn't wake. Oh, she's awake now. Crap. You hear her whining. I'm so sorry. But still, interesting. That makes so much sense. It would make sense. And again, James Gunn, I'm on to you. Or if you are listening, I mean, you can hire me and then we can plot things to make the DC better. Hopefully, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, that would make a lot of sense of why it is the way how it is. Because again, Ben Affleck is probably not doing Batman anymore. Hell, he was supposed to do the oh my God, I just realized who the next, but well, yeah, they're gonna freaking bring Robert Pattinson as the freaking next Batman. That also makes sense. Oh my God. And then it's like, it will make sense why Barry will go back in time, or not back in time, but like in a whole different universe where, Bruce Wayne is still learning to be Batman, and therefore it will become Robert Pattinson. Yup, Robert Pattinson, because he's like, well, I've been dealing with a bunch of older Bruce Waynes. What if I just go ahead and do a new one? That makes so much sense. I swear to God, if this podcast is still out and about in the next maybe 5 years, and then we get to see the future of DC, I am going to come back and republish this episode. I don't even know what I'm going to do. But yeah, that makes so much sense of why they might be able to do that. Interesting. But besides it all, I think I am done talking about the Flash. I literally was like, mind blown. But of course, that kind of wraps up that episode. And again, like how I mentioned earlier, I think my next episode we're going to be talking about anime. And yes, I do watch anime, just not that much. But when it comes to Demon Slayer, that's a whole different story. And I'm literally wearing my Inosuke shirt. I love Inosuke from Demon Slayer. And sadly, I'm not seeing that much of it in this season. But that is going to be for that next episode. I'm probably going to be talking about just everything Demon Slayer. My thoughts, how I started watching it, all of that. And talking about the Swordsmith Village arc. And potentially what will happen afterwards. So if you are an anime fan and you love Demon Slayer, stay tuned for that episode. Other than that, make sure to follow my social medias as always if you guys are interested on to see what I'm doing in my personal life, or what am I talking about on TikTok or something. I'm thinking about uploading a video about Cosmo, because she has some weird characters, and I think it'll be funny for me to upload it on TikTok. So make sure to follow me on my social media accounts at It's Lielers on Instagram and on Twitter, and at Lielers on TikTok. And of course, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you guys on the next one.